In a world of remakes and remasters,
Are we playing for
what was once sacred and cool has now soured and become lame.
Red?
Gone are the days of Pogs and Cowabunga. Now is the reign of slurp juice and dabs. Kids these days don't even know how bad they've got it. Now it's up to the best generation to rise to the occasion and make a show that dares to go where a lot of other nerdy shows have already gone quite a bit. That's right. They're going to talk about it a lot.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. This is Best Gen, where nerds complain about nerdy things, and it's called Best Gen because we're all más o menos from the same generation, and we happen to think that it's the best one, not because we as people are better than you, but because our movies and entertainment certainly was, so strap on in and prepare to wax nostalgic as we reminisce upon the days of yore while simultaneously complaining about the stupid, doo-doo, poopy movies that Hollywood is making today. How is everybody doing tonight? We've got the angry Mexican in the house.
Yeah.
And we got Bearded below me, and my brother David, who's in my house, because all of my family is in town, because my sister just gave birth, and so we're going to try and make this show short, because I'm being a bad host. And other Jared is on an airplane right now.
Coming to you.
So, also, there's not a whole lot to talk about this week anyway. We've got 2 episodes of The Acolyte to fight about. We've got 1 episode of Doctor Who that Jared watched, but he's not here to talk about, so we'll talk about it next week. It was bad. It's the worst one yet.
Still going? I thought that... Okay.
There's 2 more episodes. So the series it's basically over. The last 2 episodes for the next 2 weeks is a 2-part season finale.
2-part
and then there's a Christmas special.
Stretching out over 2 separate nights.
They're stretching it out. It'll be a 2-week thing.
Usually, when you have a 2-part finale thing, it's like okay, you do a big block. I mean, back when you had your broadcast TV stuff, you put them out one right after the other.
Yeah. Sometimes, we shall see.
Like
sorry. I mean, I shall see because literally no one is watching this show.
Yep.
That reminds me, I need to.
If I'm going to start watching Who, I need to start watching from as close to the beginning as I can figure out. Not a lot to go through. And
just start with the reboot. Start with 9.
And that's fine too. But even then, I still have a long ways to go before I catch up where you're at. And
Right.
even though I probably won't hate it nearly as much as you do, I have no excitement for it. Partially because all of y'all are hating on it, and I'm like, okay. I might not hate it as much as you, but I'm probably not going to like it enough to care, So I might get around to catching up on some of the old stuff eventually, but I'm not going to bother myself with finding something just to hate on it when I've got a lot of other things
I
I
would
want
definitely want to
anyway.
start watching a little bit of the old Doctor Who.
It's the old stuff's really good too.
Uh-huh.
Everyone's
Yeah. The effects are very cheesy. The monsters are just guys with boxes on their heads. A lot of the times.
That's ridiculous. Why would a show with aliens ever have kind of goofy costumes?
Yeah.
I'm Mexican,
But it's still good stuff.
I'm Mexican. Like you have
Dude.
to watch El Santo movies. Have you watched El Santo movies?
Mm-mm.
Like that guy was a masked luchador, and he will fight like monsters, and the effects were just goofy.
Yeah.
The Santo.
Tom Baker is a really excellent doctor. I've only seen a handful of his episodes, But I want to get more Tom Baker episodes under my belt. But
yeah, he is a lot of people's favorite of the older stuff.
It kind of stinks though. It's hard to watch the older content unless you're subscribed to BritBox, I think. Or are all the old episodes on Disney Plus now?
I don't know. I don't.
It's not like
Disney
it matters
Plus
anymore because I don't have Disney Plus anymore.
Oh, but how are you watching The Acolyte?
I don't know.
He's not.
Yeah, I haven't watched The Acolyte yet. I don't know what you're talking about.
He refuses.
Yeah, but it's harder to watch those other ones.
It's really hard.
I got all of Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant, Matt Smith, and Peter Capaldi on DVD. Their whole run for like $40-$50.
I had literally bought the same deal that you did.
Yeah,
so.
and but if you get Tom Baker's stuff, they have it all available. But his collection is broken up into like 9 different sets, and each set is $25-$30. It's insane. And that's the case with all of the old stuff that they have, not just Tom Baker. But so it's a lot harder to collect unless you have a way to stream it.
Mark Clark says they're on Tubi, so look there.
Oh, okay.
We got some cool people in the chat. We got Mark Clark, our inaugural channel member. If you want to become a channel member, if you want to be as cool as Mark Clark, it's just 99 cents a month. It helps me out, and you get access to some memes or emojis and early access to videos. It's a good time, and I have been on the ball this month. I've had videos sitting in queue for a long time. You can currently watch The Acolyte episode 2 is Devoid of Logic, which comes out Monday for normies. But Mark Clark can watch it now. It's also helpful. I would love to be able to do this full time, and any support helps. So we got Charles watching live for the first time
in a while.
And I'm a bigot. Yes, that is true. Justin Hancock's popping in to say hi. He's not going to make it. Enjoying Jinx Season 1. I told you you would.
Yep. Good stuff.
There is no shame in watching the VODs. The VOD gangs, baby. Mm-hmm. Mark Clark enjoys my early content. Yeah, it's been... I mean, I've had family in town, so it's been fun, but entertainment-wise, it's been a pretty downer week. Let's see. Let's do some...
The only real downer for me has been that I got too busy and was not able to make it to the theater to watch the extended editions of Lord of the Rings and Two Towers yesterday and today. But I think I'm going to go to Return of the King tomorrow. But that's the only real downer for me.
But here's some good news. We'll start with some good news. Zamil Akhtar just finished Dark Drinker, book 4 in Gunmetal God series.
Did book 3 just come out this year?
The beginning of this year.
Yeah,
or maybe it was the end of last year. No, it was the end of last year. It
came out last year. That's pretty fast.
He's been writing like the wind, and there's a 5th book, apparently. I thought it was a trilogy, and so I was like saving the 3rd book. I was like, I don't want to just read it now and then not have more. And apparently there's 5 in the series, so
I really need to get on that series. The way that I'm blowing through the Way of Kings, or not the Way of Kings, Stormlight Archive. I'm almost done with Oathbringer right now. So I expected that to take me all year to read all of them, but they're just too good. I can't stop.
Yeah. I will say, looking at that post and having these books that we're reading and hearing about Brandon's work on book 5, I see, completed 140,000 words. What? That's not complete. That's like, 25% done. Everybody writes 450,000 word books like Brandon
Anderson. So. Yeah.
No.
Yep.
Oh, we got William in the chat. Hey, boys. How's it going?
Hello.
Thanks for tuning in.
Howdy.
It's going to be a riot because Jared's already said he disagrees with me on Star Wars, so we are going to have a fight.
Surprised at all? Come on.
Yeah. My wife went out and saw Fall Guy with her girlfriend.
The 4th one is hot. He's talking about Stormlight. The 4th one is hot trash. It's going to take you a minute. I don't think Stormlight 4 is trash. It's the weakest of the 4 for reasons I've complained about already.
Yeah.
I still enjoyed it.
I actually talked to a guy today at church that saw me with Oathbringer and said, "Oh, it's Brandon's worst work," and he was referring more to Stormlight just because he feels like he's gotten lost in his world building with that, and I think because it's so tied in with all the Cosmere stuff, I'm still interested in it and still excited about it, but I do get where that sentiment might be coming from, because it does make it harder to get into.
Hey, look, I love the Wheel of Time, and I know it's not for everybody. Look, he's way too verbose. The series is too long. I enjoy all of it because I love the world so much. It could have been 15 more books, and I would have kept reading, right? No. But not everyone likes that stuff. Like it could have been more popular than it already was, which is super popular, if it was edited down a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Star Wars is unfathomable. I can't talk today. Unfathomably trash.
Well, I will say that what you are expressing about Wheel of Time, there we go, is more or less my approach to Star Wars, because I won't deny there's been a lot weaker stuff lately. You look at a Boba Fett, you look at an Obi-Wan, you look at I still mostly liked Ahsoka, but it wasn't amazing. And I won't say that The Acolyte is amazing, but I still liked it. So, and it still comes down to the idea of, for me, that I've heard a lot of people use the analogy of like it's your favorite sports team. Star Wars is my favorite sports team, even when they have years where they suck, where they have coaches that are not doing the right thing or whatever else it may be. But it's still Star Wars. It's still my team, and I can still find things that I like in it, even when they're doing things that I also don't think are succeeding. Let alone,
well, sure, we'll get to it. There was one thing that I liked about the Acolyte. Ooh. Sorry, two things, and I will say them when we get to the Acolyte. They might not be what you think. There's not a single element. We'll get to it. We're not talking about the Acolyte yet. We got a little bit of news too. If you have a theme about mental awareness, your mental illness representation can't be horrendous.
Sorry guys, I don't know.
I wouldn't call it horrendous, but he takes some missteps in book 4. I think the ending is still worth it, but it's harder to get through. That's.
I assume we're talking about Words of Radiance. Or Rhythm of War.
Rhythm of War, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I still really liked book 4. It's just that the other 3 were so good. Anyway, news. In case you were wondering, Doctor Who didn't fall under 2 million, but it came pretty dang close. Episode 6. So I would have lost money if anyone took me up on that bet, but no one did. Suckers. It's horrible, and there's no one else watched it, so I can't complain about it. But it was episode 6 was, and these have been really bad. Episode 6 was the worst.
Yeah.
It's not. It's literally a Bridgerton episode, and they call it the Bridgerton episode. And they keep talking about Bridgerton. Apparently, Bridgerton is so popular that aliens watch the show too, and want to cosplay as humans doing Bridgerton.
Oh my
It's
God.
retarded.
Wow.
And I said this last week. I don't understand why this season in particular is trying its hardest to be any other show but Doctor Who. Like last week was Black Mirror, and this week is Bridgerton. I don't know why they hate Doctor Who so much.
Yeah, that's weird.
I miss Jodie. Things said unironically. Look, Jodie's was better than this, and while it was still stupid and woke and garbage and boring, it was still trying to be a Doctor Who show.
There were still several episodes of Jodie Whittaker's run that I was like, "Oh, that's an interesting concept of a Doctor Who episode," and then it just didn't deliver for whatever reason. Whether it was they're cramming in too much woke stuff, or it just the story didn't get to come together, or the writing was just bad.
It was made by bad writers trying to make a Doctor Who show.
Exactly, but at least it felt like it was Doctor Who.
This does not feel like Doctor Who. It's a completely different show.
I'm just guessing, obviously, because I don't watch any of it to begin with. But I wonder if they're out of ideas, and so they're just trying to piggyback off of other popular things. Because that's what it sounds like. You're saying
that's literally what they're doing. That's literally what they're doing.
hey, we're a sci-fi show, so we can kind of do whatever we want, and let's piggyback off of these popular things, and we can do that because it's a sci-fi show, and so they're using that as the excuse. That's my guess. I don't know.
David, you sent me this one. I read it too. I didn't really want to talk about it. Was there anything you wanted to say? He made some comments and then smart people took those comments. Smart people took those comments to mean what he, what he actually meant. Yeah. What he was saying, and then he got in trouble for it, and so now he's saying no, I wasn't being sexist. It's just this.
Yeah, but he still is kind of saying the same thing in his clarifications of his comment.
Right. He said the doctor can't be a woman.
Right.
It's a loss of role models for boys, which is very true. But then he's like, no. I don't want to be a right-wing extremist, whatever that means, because we all know the right is what is extreme. So my point was that Doctor Who is a Don Quixote type figure who rides into situations, and the character who always puts him right is the female companion. And if you reverse that, you've got the difficult dynamic of a man telling a woman that what she can and cannot do. But I also think the Doctor is a good role model because he's a hero who isn't beating the crap out of everyone.
Right.
I really
it's just a really milquetoast take,
but it doesn't necessarily contradict what he said before. But I think it's a better way to put it. That's fine. But yeah, whatever.
I mean, I understand how people will misunderstand it, because people that are stupid, will read things like "men, women, this guy is sexist," things like that, But
is he saying men are different than women? And
not anymore.
Are you saying they enjoy different things and fulfill different parts of society? Wow, what a radical take.
He is kind of implying that, men are men and women are women, right?
Yeah. It shouldn't be a hot take to think that men need different things than women do, and that men need male role models and females need female role models.
No.
Right.
I don't know.
I even think there's room for a lot of more nuance in that than the simple way that it is sometimes talked about by both sides as trying to oversimplify it to being as binary as they either are fighting against or trying to make it into. It's like, but it's still, there's still a lot of reality in this is what different people need in different things and different ways that people fulfill those roles in society, and that falls under gender roles pretty consistently. And it's
it would be interesting to see to see what Pete Davidson has to say on Doctor Who. Sure. Anyway,
they say that Pete Davidson is dating Jenna Ortega because apparently dating Pete Davidson is the newest humiliation ritual for women in Hollywood.
So there's a bunch of Acolyte news. Should we talk about the Acolyte first and then talk about Acolyte news, or should we do news first and then talk about the show?
I don't know about the show, so I got it.
Okay. Talk about the news then. Leslie Headland also wants to make a Knights of the Old Republic, and she's saying, "Hey, go out there and tweet at Disney so that I can make a KOTOR project."
And I've said this before. I have always wanted for there to be a KOTOR show, but I don't want it anymore. Everything that I've seen from their supposed remake that I don't know if they're remaking anymore, if that got scrapped.
It got scrapped.
The changes that they were going to make to that, to all the stuff that they have been putting out that is just not great. I mean, I was in the same camp as Jared. I really like Star Wars, and there were some shows that they put out that weren't great, but I still enjoyed myself. And then Boba Fett and Kenobi, and I think the last straw was season 3 of The Mandalorian, because Mandalorian was so fantastic, seasons 1 and 2, and then they just completely dropped the ball with season 3. And I'm done. Star Wars is in the same boat as Marvel now. If they do something else,
even worse, because
to change my mind, then I might come back. But I'm done.
Mm.
I will argue that it's even worse because
Yeah.
Marvel is just boring. Like at the end of the day, Marvel is
Sure.
just boring. Like you can just say whatever about the shows. The worst part is that they are just boring and they have nothing of value. And seems that basically the people that were working on them, they were not trying their best.
See,
William, I did like
that's what
the
I've been
first
telling
two
him.
seasons
That's
of
what I've been
Mandalorian.
telling him for years.
Oh, see, the first two seasons of Mandalorian were fantastic.
No, they weren't.
Andor was fantastic.
I dare you to rewatch it.
Yeah,
Season 1 had 2 good episodes,
No,
and
I
season
loved it.
2 had 2 good episodes. The rest were mediocre, and then seasons 1 and 2 also had some garbage dumpster
Have you
fire
rewatched
episodes.
it after Andor?
Yeah. Yeah, I really liked the first two seasons of Mandalorian and Andor.
Mandalorian season 1 and 2 were great. 3 was not great. Andor was great.
Andor could have been better than it was. Let's be honest. Like,
Andor, the finale
episodes that are
finale
good.
of Andor drags the whole thing down. It's horrible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it has 4
yeah.
episodes that if they
And even then, it didn't feel like it was a good sci-fi. It wasn't Star Wars. It didn't feel like Star Wars at any point.
No, it felt like I don't know, like I was playing freaking.
Yeah, I still think it felt like Star Wars, but you're right. It's the least Star Wars of all the Star Wars shows. It easily could have been transplanted and put in Blade Runner or whatever else.
Literally could have put that in any sci-fi
It
universe.
felt
I
like
stand by the idea to say it doesn't feel like Star Wars. You look at the prequels compared to the originals, and that doesn't feel like Star Wars like the originals did.
There is
Right.
a through line between all
And
6
shifts over
films, though,
time.
dude.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's not to me. That's
Yes, it feels different, but it's always been about good and evil and lightsabers and Jedi.
Right. And that's
Oh, sorry. No. Star Wars has never been about good and evil. That's the best part about it.
no, that one I completely agree with. That being a stupid statement. It's always been about.
Have you read the text scroll to A New Hope? Literally, not even the first line of the movie. Before the movie starts, it says the evil galactic empire.
Yep.
No,
Yeah,
I agree with you. That's a stupid statement by people about it, and I think that it's still fine to potentially explore some of the gray areas within that. While in the end, it needs to still have a lot of the lessons in there about it. And again,
Sure. Make a show that explores the gray areas, but don't say that Star Wars has never been about good and evil.
100% agree with you. The statement is stupid. Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Season 1 was mid. Season 2 was bad, except for the episode with Bill Burr, which is probably the greatest Disney, probably the best Star Wars that Disney has made.
Yeah, that was a fantastic episode.
It was a fantastic episode.
But I really did not like season 2 either. It's just taken longer for these frogs to boil. Okay.
Yeah, it was just so
I
hard.
hopped out immediately. I was like, "Oh, this water's getting warm. I don't like it."
Yeah, but Star Wars is my baby. I kept holding out hope. That they would make Star Wars great, but
I always have the thing is that I don't mind criticizing Star Wars like this because I always have Star Wars like my Star Wars for me is the things that I enjoy, right? Like
Right.
the original and the trilogy, the prequel trilogy, and then let's just
They're
say
wonderful.
Andor and Mandalorian season 1, and that's basically it. Like, it dies there, you know.
So for me, I have no problem criticizing it either. I have no problem criticizing what I think has actually been bad, but I actually still enjoy a lot of things about it. And there's a lot of things that you could point to as being mid or not as good or potentially amazing. But I think that those are the sorts of things that if you were to look objectively at the originals and the prequel trilogy, that people coming outside of those will probably call those mid as well. But we have nostalgia for that.
I was with you until that last sentence, man.
That's legitimately why there was so much hate around the prequels when they first came out. I was old enough to remember that. And you guys were too, that there was so much, and yet now we who grew up with it can embrace it because of the nostalgia of it. While
Right,
I can
no.
also look back
I
on it
don't
and say,
know.
yeah, there was
No,
some
the
stuff that was
the
crappy
the
in it.
prequels is a different story though, because
Yeah.
we even look, we all knew they weren't great. Okay?
But we still
And
love them.
yeah,
That's how I feel about the rest of these things.
Look,
They're not
I still-
great, but I still love them.
I don't think the prequels are good movies. I enjoy parts of them though.
Mhm.
And I think Phantom Menace is
Yeah.
really fun. And there are parts of that movie that I absolutely hate.
Yep.
Jar Jar
but-
is pretty dumb.
Oh,
But with this new stuff, there's it's kind of like Doctor Who. It's not even trying to be Star Wars anymore.
it's like has no
trying
soul.
too hard to be Star Wars without being its own thing in Star Wars. That's one of the reasons why I really liked the beginning of Mandalorian, because rather than trying to be a new thing of Star Wars, it was almost like a lot of other things had been parodying Star Wars. This was taking a page out of Star Wars' book by using inspiration from the things that inspired Star Wars. And so it was taking a samurai story and putting it in the Star Wars universe, rather than trying to be like, let's do a Star Wars story and put some extra Star Wars wrapping around it. They weren't trying for that. They were trying. There was a different level to that. That's one of the reasons I love Mandalorian. You know.
Yeah, man. Sure, Mandalorian season 1 worked. It wasn't a 10 out of 10, but it worked. Mid is okay.
Yeah.
Mid shows can exist. That's fine.
I also personally, and this, to each their own and everything, but that's why I'm not like giving up on it. Because like, yeah, there's stuff I don't like, but I'm not giving up on it. It's not crap
Right.
enough that I'm giving up on it. And I understand feeling like, yeah, I got really, you guys
Right.
have been on the show for a while.
It's the intention
How much
behind it, though.
How frustrated I was at Boba Fett, and how
Right.
frustrated I was at lots of parts of Kenobi.
For me, it's the intention behind it.
And I don't even care about
I
the
agree.
The intention behind the original trilogy was a commentary on the Vietnam War. Whatever. I don't care.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
George has gone on and on about that, especially Return of the Jedi.
He's
George
gone on
is
saying that that's
going-
not true.
I haven't seen that. I've heard him go on and on about
Everyone
it.
says it's an
Word
allegory, and he's repeatedly said, "No, I was just writing a story. It has nothing to do with the Vietnam War." George Lucas himself has said no.
It has to do with the Korean War.
Look, the problem is the prequels are mid, but you can still enjoy them because they were trying to make something good, and they were trying to make Star Wars, and it definitely fell short. He needed a better editor. He needed his wife that he divorced, which is what made the first movie so good.
The story and the world building of the prequels is amazing. The editing and especially the dialogue, not so much.
But we've seen repeatedly that the intention behind Disney, they don't care about Star Wars. And so yes, there are some things that Disney has made that is the same level of mid as the prequels, but it's a lot more unwatchable because of the intentions behind the show. Right? It's the Acolyte is literally made by people who hate you.
I disagree.
They've said they hate you in all of the marketing material. Have you seen the interview where they're like, "Oh, this is the gayest Star Wars we've ever made"? They said R2D2 is gay.
That doesn't say that they hate me, though. Just because they make him gay doesn't mean that they're hating me.
No, they literally said that they hate white people. Like the actress said that the main goal of the show was to make white people cry.
That was for a different movie.
Her directly.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say
she did say that, but that was for the Hate You Give. But I put it in my Star Wars video because it parallels a lot of things that Leslie Headland has said, which is why she cast that girl in the lead
Not only
role.
that, but you can see the cast and the way everything is cast in the show, and they just say that there's not a good depiction of white people, like it was in original Star Wars.
I don't care. I don't care that.
everybody,
I don't even care that there's no white people in the show.
Yeah,
Like
no,
I say that ironically.
that there are
I
no
s-
listeners.
I say that as an argument ironically to illustrate how bad that argument has been for the last 15 years when they're saying, oh, the reason that we have to make the Little Mermaid black is because you're not allowed. They literally told, this was in the marketing, they literally told black girls they're not allowed to identify with a character unless they have the same color skin.
I mean, that's extrapolating a little bit, but
No. There were people saying that, dude.
There were people saying that. They were more just more of the commentary was. Now you can identify with.
But yes,
it's different than saying you can't before. But I agree with you that it's still kind of.
And they've been saying it for it for years. Oh, fine. I need someone on screen that I can identify with.
Yes,
and
so
that is an extremely closed-minded and bigoted and racist argument. It's a horrible mindset to have. So when I say, "Oh, I can't enjoy the Acolyte because I can't," there's no representation. It's a joke. I'm telling you that your argument for years has been racist as hell.
Yep. Yeah. I agree with you. I agree with that point, except that I can still enjoy the show because it's still there. Just like somebody who was black that used to be able to enjoy the original stuff. It's fine.
But you used to be black?
Someone else who was black.
What did you just? I'm sorry. What did you just say?
I said someone who was black used to be able to enjoy.
Oh, okay.
He transitioned.
Even though there wasn't a black person there, they could still enjoy it. I can still enjoy this because there's not white people in there, and I don't think that has anything to do with it. The problem is not who they cast in it, although there's an argument to be the fact that they're losing sight of anything else because they're only focusing on that.
Well,
it's the stories that aren't as good sometimes. You know.
I also you might not know, but I do have some problem with the people that are cast because Leslie Headland, you realize this is 100 years, right, before the prequels. Yoda is alive, and a Jedi Master at this time. And instead of putting him in the show, Leslie Headland cast her wife as the green chick who can't deliver her lines worth beans.
Yeah, she was not my favorite for sure. She was not
so there's a big problem with the casting, and it is nepotism, and it's racist and sexist. Yes.
So the biggest thing that I will give is we haven't seen all of it yet, so we don't know whether we have popped up at all.
For your transition. Hey, we got more diversity on the show. We got technically Mexican and technically Blacksican.
Oh dear!
Thank you so much for the $1.99.
Mark.
He's got the Appalachia, right? Whatever it's called. What is
Alopecia.
it? Yeah. That's what I said.
I don't know if
the Alopecia Mountains.
No, I don't think that one.
Vitiligo.
Vitiligo.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm apoplectic about that.
Have we? I was talking about this. I can't remember if it was on this show.
Alopecia is the hair thing. That's what that is.
Yeah, alopecia. That's why I'm like, no.
Did we talk about vitiligo on this show, or was that a conversation I had in real life?
That was a conversation you had with me.
Have you guys seen the commercials for vitiligo? It is. They are ridiculous. They're like, look at you piece of human garbage. You can't walk outside without people saying, look at that chessboard freak. Don't you want to regain control of your life, you sicko? Take this medicine and fix your I think vitiligo is kind of sexy, honestly. I like it. It looks freaking cool.
I was gonna say,
it's hot, okay?
Yeah, there was this girl in college, and she had vitiligo in the right places. You know what I mean? I'm not even implying anything bad. Like she had like I don't know how to explain it, but she had in the right places in the face, and she looked good.
It's a little Dalmatian, you know?
Yeah, I found out that the cure for vitiligo is the carnivore diet. So,
go watch a vitiligo commercial. Like, they are awful. Like, you're subhuman. You monster.
Do you hate looking like?
Don't you want to be able to show your face in public again? Like, it's nasty, horrible commercials.
Brought to you by the doctor.
Honestly, the same thing with other things like plaque psoriasis and eczema too. The same type of thing. It's like you look so awful. You know what? Why don't you take this medicine and make your skin not embarrassing?
Mark Clark, you don't even know. Sometimes I get at the Sharpie and just draw little splotches on my wife.
The one thing I'll say for something like plaque psoriasis or some of those other ones is like, my understanding is that those are at least also uncomfortable. And
That's
true too.
But vitiligo,
it's doesn't pigmentation issue with the different colorings on it. It's like a rash.
Absolutely.
So that one I can get behind, although they are pretty intense in the man, doesn't it suck being?
Yeah, it's horrible. It's awful.
Yeah. That's all like just about every beauty standard anything. My wife was talking the other day with one of our friends about how she was on the phone on hold. I think it was actually our friend was on hold.
Congratulations, Mark.
Or whatever. And it was like these ads about how come get beauty things and this, that, and the other. And it's like, stop leaning in on the idea that people have to be X, Y, and Z beautiful.
Right.
Because that's something that to a certain extent people are trying to react against, but then there's still all these other ones that are still just going ham on the way that they want to say, oh, you need to do this to be beautiful, and it's so dumb.
Is it Opsilora? Is that the one for vitiligo? Is that for something else?
It might be. Because there's one that I'm pretty sure that the guy narrating it sounds like, and it might be Morgan Freeman.
It's Morgan Freeman. Yeah. The ones I'm referencing are Morgan Freeman. You're like, ooh, this does not feel right. Yeah, it's Opsilora. Look up the Opsilora commercials, man. It's the most racist. It's so bad.
I know you're playing it up a bit, but so it's not quite as bad as that. But it is still definitely the situation where you're just whoever is telling you that it looks bad to have the vitiligo or whatever, just ignore them. Screw it. You look fine. Just do your thing. Yeah. Don't care what anybody else thinks.
It's shame-based advertising.
Yeah, and it's dumb. Yep.
That's why I hate Apple. That their entire marketing is shame-based.
Yeah, you're right. Look how much the PC sucks. We're better, right?
Yep. It's pure. They're purely working off of the fear of missing out and a status you're not a real human unless you use an Apple product. I cannot stand them.
It even works.
That was when I was a kid. That was the norm. I remember that anyone that had anything else than an iPhone was garbage. Was scum.
I've been trying to talk about that
Mexican
the whole time.
By design, that was the point. It worked on you.
It can't work. I felt superior to other.
Nike did the same thing. Nike did the same thing. Their advertising is a lot better now, but it used to be a very similar approach. It was an elitist status.
It's still happening, but it's the way they've designed their ecosystem, because there are people now who are iPhone users that can do all the fancy stuff with their groups, their text groups, where you can add and remove, and you can do all these different things that you can't do if you have an Android person that's on the text chain. And so, literally, I've been in text groups where they send out the text, and then they're like, "Oh, dang it, who's an Android user?" And I'm like, "That's me, because they're friggin' better." But
and a fraction of the price.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
Apparently, the new Mac commercials are hilarious. I haven't seen them. Is that the one where they smashed a bunch of things and people got mad about it for the iPad Pro or whatever? Anyway, Mark Clark, we don't want to talk about the Acolyte.
I've been trying to talk about the Acolyte the whole time.
I really tried to watch it this week so we could have something to talk about, but I could not do it.
It's getting review bombed. Typical Who gives a crap?
Actually, I thought it had a really good review score.
Yeah, actually, it's got a great critic score and a horrible audience score.
Oh, really?
I was expecting 0% from the audience. I was expecting the audience to be way more.
It's 25%.
It's at 20-something%. Yeah. But this article is hilarious, though.
Which one?
Because one of the articles that talks about the ratings.
Yeah.
But they blame review bombing. But one of them was hilarious because it said, "Oh, the review bombings ratings are preventing the show from other helpful reviews of other people that had constructive criticism for the show." It's blocking out legit constructive criticism. Okay, so what you're basically saying is people that hated the show are stopping people's voices from people that also didn't like your show.
Arguably, at least their intent behind that is people who didn't even watch the show and are hating it because without having actually watched it are keeping it from allowing there to be criticisms from people who have watched the show and have 3-star reviews or whatever.
I know, but it was hilarious that it's like, oh, it's not just bringing the thing down that otherwise would have been amazing. It's like, oh, we're not hearing the constructive criticism of people that also didn't like the show. But now it's, instead of a 25%, it would have been, a 50 or 60% without their.
But here's what's really funny. Despite the review bombing, it still broke an impressive Disney Plus viewership record. And then people on Twitter went, "Oh man, I thought you guys said this was going to flop. You idiots! Look at what it. You guys want to know what record? You want to know what record it broke? They had to add so many qualifiers. It only got it didn't make it to 5 million in the of this year. It's the biggest premiere of this year.
What has even premiered this year? I don't even remember.
Nothing. This is the only show that's. This is
the only
Star Wars show. Yeah.
Talking about this so far that's covering this news that was saying, well, yeah, but that's comparing it to the only other premium thing on Disney Plus that has come out this year was Echo. So it's right. Echo. But one other piece of that though is that it does have a higher debut than Ahsoka from last year. So that is something at least not quite as qualified as
that. I didn't know about that though, because they said the first 2 episodes got this many views, and they didn't specify whether that was per episode or if that was total.
It's not. It's both episodes, man.
Yeah,
that's why they do a double feature, because it boosts the numbers.
I will say though, but again, that's the problem with using that is that
they just finished filming too, or season 2.
Almost everything is debuting with at least a 2-part episode thing, and these are Disney Plus shows that are very short. They're less than an hour between the 2 of them. Mm-hmm. So yes, but that's all. But again, the amount of hours viewed in the first 24 hours is a metric they're using across the board, and the 2-episode premiere is not unique to, we only did this in order to boost our numbers. It's actually still pretty consistent across a lot of the other situations, a lot of other shows that they're comparing to.
It's why everyone's doing it though.
And these are short shows. So again, maybe
if they didn't do it, it would look even worse because they've been doing it for every other show.
Well, but my point is maybe it's still not amazing as an overall entertainment property.
It got the same numbers as Doctor Who, dude.
In comparison to other shows of the recent time, it's still better than what it has been, what they've been getting. So I think that's worth talking about.
Even Echo, I think, got same numbers, similar numbers.
It got the exact same numbers as Doctor Who, basically.
Yeah.
Which is not great, yeah.
But yeah, okay, the next article is about the fire in space, so we're going to have to talk about the episode now.
Okay, let's talk about the fire in space.
I kind of agree with this to me is a Screen Rant's good take, because I mean, what are you talking about? There's not sound in space either, and guess what? You could have fire in space because while there's not air existing in space, that was coming off of the ship. And so there was air in the ship, and it's igniting it. So, there are explosions that could happen in space. There will be fire in space.
Right.
But there can be. Out quickly. So
the problem is everyone.
Depicted is not an issue. That is not a thing to watch a nitpick, and it's still very doable.
It really bothers me, dude. The way that it was shown.
Does the sound in space bother you? Why does this bother you, but the sound in space doesn't?
I would prefer if there was no sound, but Star Wars chose to do sound.
Why are you criticizing this, but not also lumping in
the because of how it looked? Look, there have been explosions in Star Wars, and that's the thing. Everyone defending this decision will point out scenes and look, there's fire in space, but explosions can happen in space.
But fire like this.
No. Jared, it literally can't. It's depicted like a crackling. It looks like a crackling campfire. And how does she put it out? How does she put out the fire? With a fire extinguisher in space, which would literally do nothing that space isn't already doing.
So I don't know about
if it was a valve that had broken loose and was emitting flame that was releasing oxygen, and she shut off the valve, no one would be having a problem with this. But the fact that it was literally making a campfire sound, and it was just a teeny flame blowing in the wind.
She was having a memory of
the sound started before the memory, dude. Everyone says that too, and it's dumb. It's a teeny little campfire. It's a teeny little kumbaya campfire, and she puts it out with a fire extinguisher. It's retarded.
It looks like a fire extinguisher, but this is Star Wars, so who knows what it's doing.
That's what it was! It was a fire extinguisher!
But again, if what it's doing is sealing off the crack so that no longer is the oxygen escaping that got ignited and is escaping ignited, sure, the fire would not have gotten out into space and been fire out here without the oxygen that was right there. But it could have gone, it could have damaged the hull there. It could have damaged, you put it out.
I do agree with part of this article, though. The argument about fire in space completely misses the point of how garbage this episode was, because it's not even ever, and it's become a straw man. Everyone's like, if your only complaint about the Acolyte is that there was fires in space and that there's females in it, then you're an idiot. And you're like, no, we have lots and lots of other complaints, which we will get into. Fire in space was just one of them, and it was stupid.
When someone's trying to strawman that to say, oh, if that's your only complaints, then you say that's not my only complaint.
Yeah.
Because if that is your only complaint, I agree with that sentiment of if that is your only complaint, then it's dumb.
Yeah.
Again, if you're going to complain about this,
really funny,
just like if some other non-Star Wars fan comes to you and says like, man, why is there sound in space? Because they're not actually sound in space.
Right.
You might say, I would wish that they didn't. But guess what? It doesn't matter. Because that's not the point.
Because Star Wars made that choice. They're going to show sound. It's fine.
They're going to show sound.
And honestly, the other things, sound in space and gravity in space, all those complaints that have been lobbed against it before, can all be explained by, they have technology to mimic artificial gravity or to simulate the sounds that they would have heard in space if it were an atmosphere or whatever. That's been done before. But fire is there's no way to. You can't have the fire in space. If it was sucked out, there have been realistic shots of, explosions and fire in space, and they're sucked out into the vacuum of space and extinguished immediately. So you can see the fire, and then it goes out.
As I watched this thing, it looked to me, it didn't look like a fire waving. It looked like fire being kind of sucked out into space, but it had continual fuel in my mind. That's why I was able to continue burning and continue being the thing until she could cut that off. I
had to watch this episode like 6 times to do my edit. It's ridiculous, man. It's a campfire. It's not shooting out of a vent.
From my perspective, it's the dumbest thing to complain about because who cares whether there's fire in space? Just like who cares if there's sound in space?
It is the least of my criticisms. It is the least of my criticisms, but it's still a criticism.
Except that. That's just a thing that happened in this world. Because the way I've usually heard the sound in space thing described is it's not because they've simulated it, because it's a different world a different universe. Maybe it has different physics. It looks like ours in a lot of ways, but it's different.
Space is universal, dude. Space is universal.
My point is the excuse is, regardless, it doesn't matter what the excuse is. You can come up with the excuse. How do you fly in the Stormlight Archive? How do you fly? Because that's physics that doesn't. That doesn't exist in our world. It's different physics in this world. There might be different physics in that world. That's not the point. And so that's why it's fine. I don't care that there's fire in space.
It bothered me, and it bothered a lot of people. And if you're talking about consistency, Star Wars, there have been a lot of explosions in space, and everyone on Twitter was like, hey, look, you're an idiot. There's always been fire in space. Explosions can happen, and they quickly die out. There's never been an instance where there was an open flame in space. And people pointed to this one, too, and they're like,
that's inside.
There's literally, do you see the shield?
Yeah, that's in a hangar. That's in a.
There's an atmosphere in here.
Yeah, no. This is not a necessarily accurate response to that because I don't think this is the same scenario.
I have not seen a single good response on Twitter. It's always
the only
been.
Other one, I'd have to scroll through everything, but I think there might be some shots where they're flying in, and it might even be in the sequels. So maybe it's not going to hold up to your guys' criticism anyway, but. Where there might be some flame coming off of one of the ships that one of the like R2 or BB-8 puts out or helps put out, but I can't say for sure. That's just something that's kind of tickling my head. I'd have to figure out. But again,
it was a pretty silly moment, though.
my whole point is, it's not about that. Like, so I still think your criticism is a dumb pointless criticism, but it sounds like all the responses that you're shooting down, I agree with. Those are dumb responses to your thing.
Yeah.
To me, it's just whatever it is. It could be this, it could be that. It doesn't matter, because to the reason why I'm like, hey, this is a Screen Rant good take, because that's not the point. Just like there not being sound in space is not the point of the original Star Wars. There's so much more going on. It's more about the story.
It pulled me out though. I was laughing my head off.
Well, so would you tell somebody who was trying to watch Star Wars for the first time and said, "Oh, the fact that there was sound in space pulled me out"? What would you tell them? You're like, I get that, but
no, because it's internally. It's about internal consistency.
But there's never been anything that has shown like they're not being fired like that. I mean, I see what you mean, but that's not.
Compare it to the scene. Compare it to the scene in episode 1 or 2, where no, I think it's 2. It's 2 or 3, because it's the I don't remember what episode it is. It's when you're introduced to R2's character. It's probably 1, because the silver ship gets a shoot on it, and there is an explosion, and then the fire immediately goes out, and then you got these repair droids that go to fix it.
Oh, I agree. That's a different thing.
It's the fact that it's always been handled slightly more realistically and then this is less realistic. It's what bothers me.
I do see what you're saying, but I still do think that there's easy ways to make that connect and being, because it's different than, for example, you've got the in one of the books.
Sure, if they could have there are ways you could make it better if there was like an open tube that was flailing around and that was on fire. Yeah, that would make sense, but it wasn't. And it zooms in, and it's the pipes. There are open pipes. None of them are broken. They're just pipes that are on fire, and she puts them out with a fire extinguisher. It's pretty retarded.
To that detail of it, but to me, I think that's still consistent enough to be explainable, and I had enough fun with the rest of the episode anyway that that was definitely not the point. Definitely not a thing that I worried about. Just in the same way that I never was pulled out because there was sound in space. It's not a thing in real world physics, but who cares? I'm having fun with the story anyway.
It was so, but you were actually having fun with the story?
So this is what I'll say. I'll give it this. Yeah. I was not loving the story. I did not love The Acolyte.
Sure.
I thought it was okay, but the biggest thing that I was looking at is that I was looking at as I was going through is I was like, a lot of times when I'm watching some of these shows, especially some of the bad ones, I'm like, okay, I'm going to play on my phone. I'm going to play my Star Wars game or whatever. And just like half watching and half not. I didn't feel like pulling out my phone. I kept wanting to be involved in the story. It kept me interested. The fight scenes were okay. Some of them were good. Some of them were okay. The acting was
mediocre.
Okay.
I disagree. The acting was pretty bad.
There was some okay acting. There was some bad acting.
There were some good actors.
Yeah. I will say
the majority of the actors are horrible.
I 100% agree that the Green Lady was not doing it.
Awful dialogue, awful delivery, awful presence.
Her presence, her makeup.
That's Leslie Headland's wife.
See
ya. Yeah. Peace out, man.
All right. See you, Mexa.
Oh, you see it? You out of here, Mexa? See ya. But it looked like they just slapped some green paint on somebody, and it didn't even look as good as when you slap some green.
There are literally there are shots where you can see the makeup coming off.
Yeah. Yep.
around her lips, you can see it. You can see it being wiped away. It is horrible.
That's something you can easily fix post.
Yeah.
As well. So I won't defend that at all. And that was bad. But I still was intrigued by the mystery. I wasn't like, whoa, what is this mystery? I gotta know. But I'm like, okay,
what mystery? What mystery?
Who the not Sith, not Jedi dude is with the red lightsaber?
Oh, come on.
How did she survive when they were sure that they saw her dead?
Who do you think the Sith is?
See where this goes.
Who do you think the Sith is?
There's not supposed to be Sith, so they better not mention any Sith.
It's a Sith.
So that's the thing.
Do they say the word Sith in here?
No,
because they're not supposed to know that there's any Sith.
They have not said Sith. So here's the distinction, and again, the nuance. And they may mishandle this. They absolutely could. The problem is not that there can't be Sith or that nobody can find out that they're Sith, but it can't go to the Jedi as a whole. So if Lee Jung Jae's character, the master, whatever his name is, figures out that this is a Sith, and if it is a Sith, that's okay because the Sith have been around. You've had Master what's
Plagueis?
Yeah, Darth Plagueis the Wise, and all those things that they've been in hiding. So the Sith are
Darth Plagueis is alive right now, and they could put him in the show, and I hate it.
The Sith are there, but the general population of Jedi cannot learn about them. So
either they can't find out about it, or anybody who does find out about it dies.
Absolutely.
If those don't happen, they screwed up.
I will be with you. Like
the problem is everyone in the show knows about it now.
Yeah. Well, no,
and they're not going to kill off everyone.
But there's a difference though too, and this is a little bit of like kind of nitpicky sort of like differences between it. They know that there are people who have tapped into the Force and are using it for bad things.
Yeah,
and that's one of the reasons why they're calling it an acolyte. And if you notice, again, I don't know if you saw this since you didn't see it at all, David, but in the scene where she was walking up to the dude on the beach or whatever, and he lights his red lightsaber
for no reason, he just turns it on.
Same thing happened.
Right after she says the line, "Oh, people only are allowed to turn on their lightsabers if they're prepared to kill."
Jedi only turn on their lightsabers if they are going to kill somebody.
It's like, that's what weapons.
Yeah,
that's the case with any weapon. Fair enough, any person, not just Jedi and lightsabers.
Yeah.
Some people pull out a weapon to be threatening, not to actually plan to kill. But
you have to be prepared for the possibility.
You should be prepared for the possibility, and you should go into it only doing so if you're prepared for the possibility. But that
Jedi only turns on their only ignites. A Jedi only ignites their lightsaber when they're prepared to kill. But you're there to assassinate her. Why would that be the time that you say it too? She's literally there to kill her, and she's complaining that she pulls out her lightsaber.
No, she's not complaining. She's just saying like, "Oh, now you're going to kill me. I thought you weren't going to."
Like her acting is so over. It's worse than Reva's, man. No, it's so over the top. It's so garbage.
No. Reva's was much worse. No. Way worse. Because again, when we talked about when
Obi-Wan what's the do you?
It was goofy, yeah, but that's the point of that character.
Attack me as hard as you can. That stance is the most garbage. Like, I've only seen one Kung Fu movie, and I was 6. And this is what I think Kung Fu looks like. It's so bad.
That's fine, because that's what the character is doing. The character is trying to be over the top Kung Fu.
Sure, it's character accurate, and it's a bad character.
But having a bad character, that's not a bad thing to be able to have a character that is dumb. Is. You know, like there's a difference between.
It's sure that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying she's completely uninteresting, man. There's nothing enjoyable about her character.
But that's going to be a subjective thing that everybody's going to feel differently about. So, like, I thought it was interesting.
I can't identify with her. She's black.
Hey, I don't know what's wrong with you. I can identify with her anyway. Maybe it's because I'm secretly black.
So there's twins, right? There's twins who were separated at birth, separated when they were six. Was it 6 or 16 years ago?
I think it was 6.
I think it's been 6 years, right?
Yeah.
Why do they?
Whatever.
I know why this is the case, because the movie needed it to be the case so that the plot could happen. Why do they have the exact same hairstyle? They haven't seen each other in years. They don't even know that the other person is alive, and yet they simultaneously decide to dress and look like twins.
The evil one.
And you know the only reason is so that they could have a case of mistaken identity.
Yeah. Yep. The only thing that I will say about that, you're absolutely right. It still comes down to like that just kind of but the only thing I will say about that is Evil One has longer hair, whatever that is.
She's got extensions. She's got in the front they're the same, but she's got in the back they go longer.
Right. So yeah, whatever. It's because they want to have mistaken identities.
But you know that those aren't real because it's the same actress. They're literally just extensions that she adds on when she plays the other sister. It's horrible.
I don't care. It's fine. You're right. It is a little plot conveniency. Yeah, fine. It's not amazing. Like I said, I'm not saying this was amazing. But
It's
I
so
was
just
intrigued. I was
cringy.
interested. I want to see what happens next. You know.
Look, the two things I like, I said there were two things I enjoyed. It's the best comedy Disney's ever made. I was laughing the whole time. So, like, no, unironically, I was laughing my head off watching this. When she does it's the first scene, right? And the text scroll is she's an assassin and she's so good at her job, and then she walks in and she's wearing bright purple and those dreadlocks where you're like. And the fact that she's wearing a mask and everyone already knows her description, but she still has this mask that she puts up on, and you're like, this is the least conspicuous, or sorry,
Inconspicuous.
this is this is the most conspicuous character I've ever seen, and yet she's supposed to be this fabled assassin that can blend in anywhere.
Who said?
Like,
Whoever said that?
The text, the credits did.
No, it didn't.
It said she's a great assassin, but she's risking exposure to kill this Jedi. And then she walks out, and you're like, she's risking exposure existing.
I didn't think that she was a fabled or great assassin, just that she was one of a group of people who were training in the Force and becoming strong in the Force outside of the Jedi. And one of them is risking exposure by doing that, not because she's already amazing. I don't think it's.
It's hilarious in episode 2. Everyone knows what she looks like because they have her twin, and she's still using the mask up and down.
Once
and the part that got me rolling though was in the first scene when she walks in to the Matrix, and and Trinity is like, I have no idea who this person is. Has a 10-minute fight scene, and then grabs her and pulls down her mask. You? Like she didn't recognize her with the entire freaking getup, but the mask is what finally did it.
I mean, again, I'm gonna.
Like, how on earth could you not immediately know who this person is?
First of all, she's not recognizing her as some fabled assassin or anything like that. She's recognizing her as either
someone from her life, yes.
Because
granted, it was 6 years ago, but I was laughing hard.
The other aspect of that is she doesn't say I have no idea who you are. She says I have no quarrel with you.
It was implied she didn't, because she took off the mask and said,
and then,
now I know who you are. Come on, dude.
Again, it's not that she wouldn't recognize the whole ensemble. She would recognize the face, which again, I'm pretty sure
you would recognize the hair. Okay? Because apparently they've both been having the same hairstyle for 6 years. That's not the kind of thing that you forget. Okay?
It might just not be all that uncommon. I don't know. Whatever.
It's pretty freaking uncommon.
I mean, not in the just because we haven't seen it in the Star Wars world yet. The Star Wars world is a huge.
I hate that argument so much.
Stop it! Stop it!
We're awesome.
Be honest.
I'm still upset that we only see them in Rogue One.
I can't totally disagree with you on that, but to me,
it's silly. That, like, come on. Admit that it's silly. It's silly, right? I will contend it might not be game breaking for you, but it's silly. Come on. Just say, it was a little silly.
The biggest thing that I will get is like the U-Wings, like what David is talking about with the U-Wings. If you try to look at it and be like, why don't we see that more often? Why weren't they there? Because they're pretty cool. But it's not going to take away from my ability to enjoy the fact that it's there, that it's a cool new thing. You know, it's fine. And as much as I would love it if I didn't have to make this excuse, I am totally fine with that situation making that kind of an excuse, because you're trying to tell prequel stories. You're gonna run into that issue, and maybe you just shouldn't tell prequel stories. Where again, I will get behind and say like, no, I'm not even going to try to defend. Is the like that actress in the Green Maker, but I'm like, that was not great.
So bad.
There's definitely things like that in there.
Okay,
and it wasn't amazing. I'm not trying to say it was amazing. I'm not trying to defend it as this great thing. There are some goofy things, but to me, those goofy things are just like the sorts of goofy things that you see everywhere else. I'm not saying that to tear down the originals or the prequels, but I'm trying to say it's not so far different, at least in my viewpoint, from those things, and I'm willing to roll with them, just like we can roll with those other problems in the prequels and in the originals.
It made me laugh, so it was,
and that's fine.
So the other thing I like,
about it, but
number two, the other thing I like is the Squid Game guy. Mm-hmm. He's great.
Yeah.
The fact that he learned English for this role, and that he's always wanted to be in Star Wars. I feel
realize
bad for
that.
him. I wish he was in a better Star Wars because he's genuinely good. His acting is really good. I loved him in Squid Game, and you can tell he's trying the hardest out of anyone in that cast to actually give a good performance, and he's emoting. His English isn't great, but it's passable. There were a couple lines where you have to rewind it. You're like, wait, what did he say there? But like, he's doing a good job, and the way his character's written so far, he's the only one that actually feels like a Jedi.
Yeah.
Like, he is a good character.
Which I'm also fine with, because again, as much as going back to the originals, if we hear the way they talk about who the Jedi are and what the Jedi are and everything, it doesn't necessarily line up. But in the same way that it doesn't necessarily line up with what we see in the prequels to begin with, where hey, they are flawed. They are kind of less of that mystique that we might have gotten from the originals, and we see more of that here.
This is another inconsistency.
That is odd. But
because they take in the twin after the
like
fight, whatever happened. Apparently, the Jedis did something bad in the past, and because they're morally gray.
Yeah, to me, and I mean, there's going to be I'm sure there's going to be a rug pull twist of the like, this is what really happened when they collected her. But the idea of taking her so old to me is like, okay, that is inconsistent with what we've seen. But we are in a different enough time period that I could see how this is. They tend to take them younger, and they've done a couple times where they've taken them older, and then by the time we get to the prequels, they've started to say, that's never worked out for us. Let's take them younger. I'm okay with working with that one. It does require you to make some adjustments of your perspective on it, but it's not like it wouldn't. It'd be really a problem.
I don't like having to do the work for Disney, right? Like that's the thing. Like, yeah, sure, there are hoops that you could jump through to make this make sense and to make it okay, but why not just try and tell a good Star Wars story, right? Why not try and just be faithful to lore and canon rather than make the audience make excuses for you?
I don't think those are necessarily mutually exclusive, but I can agree with you that I'd like them to try a little bit harder, and that's one of the things where I won't get totally behind some of the frustration and hate at Filoni for some of this, but I do wish he'd pay a little bit more attention to some of the.
Don't you ever mention Dave Filoni on the show again? You know it. He pisses me off.
I was gonna say we need to pull a Lion King. Ooh, say it again, Filoni. Ooh, Filoni. Ooh, Filoni. But so where I would have a bigger problem with it is if we had a show that was set literally right during the events of Phantom Menace, and they.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a problem. Here,
I don't agree with you, but that's a valid argument, and it's dumb that you have to make that argument.
Another reason that I don't feel like I have to stretch all that hard to make that argument is because when you look at Yoda and Luke in Empire Strikes Back, Yoda is saying, "Oh, he's much too old," but compared to what they're saying, "Oh, he's too old" to Anakin as a 9-year-old in the prequels. Like Luke is so much beyond that even though
Luke is the only hope, though. They didn't have a choice with Luke,
but it's still worth considering enough to say yes or no to.
Sure.
To me, means that it's not been as such a hard and fast rule as the way we had learned to interpret it from the.
But no, but I'm not even. You don't even need to talk about the original trilogy because that happens much later. You compare it to the prequels, which is they literally said no to Anakin because he was too old, and he was 9.
But it was more than just because he was too old. That was a reason they were concerned, but it was because of the fear they sensed.
It was the dark,
right?
yes.
So, and again, that's really where it is because even in the prequels, they never make a hard and fast rule. They never say, we don't take kids this old. They just said, oh, you're really old to be taken. It's I don't know. We've always interpreted it that way, and we've taken it to mean that, and we've taken it that way. But we've extrapolated from what's in the movies to begin with.
Yeah.
That's contradicting more our extrapolation than what is actually in the movies. And it's fair for us to have made that extrapolation. I'm not saying there was anything wrong with that to begin with, but to hold on to only that piece to say that now it's contradicting what we extrapolated, not what's actually in the movie. That's where I'm like, I'm okay making that stretch. It's not even that big of a stretch, So this is where I come down to where I was watching your Devoid of Logic. And again, I get that it's all in fun and to a certain extent, but I just don't necessarily feel like it's worth nitpicking over because to me it was still enjoyable. you could nitpick over all these things, but you could also explain away.
Well,
all
that's
these
why
things.
I'm nitpicking, because none of it was enjoyable for me.
Yeah, but
It was
I
just
having
so
fun with it.
silly.
Again,
I wish the writing is
but I'm
just.
intrigued.
It's just so dumb.
I will also say, I heard what you said earlier, but in no way, shape, or form, so far, this is only 2 episodes in, but in no way, shape, or form is this anywhere near as bad as Kenobi and Boba Fett, or even Mandalorian Season 3. It's not as good as
I think it's on par.
writing as it could be. It is nowhere near as bad as those.
Do you know how much more money they sunk into this than Obi-Wan Kenobi? I think it's 3 times more
They
expensive
spent
than
more
Obi-Wan
on
Kenobi.
this than Kenobi.
Yes.
Are
David.
you freaking kidding me?
They spent more on Ahsoka than they did on Kenobi.
Which is more frustrating just in the
that one makes sense. I agree.
Money into Kenobi.
Ahsoka makes sense because that was Dave Filoni's baby, and whatever.
Well, his baby's got developmental problems.
I can understand them wanting to put a little extra money into something when they've been like, okay, there's been problems with the other ones. This is a kind of separate new thing. I still completely agree with you, though, that Kenobi should have been a bigger focus, should have gotten a lot more care and attention from the right kind of people, because I think it might have gotten some care and attention from the wrong kind of people who weren't.
They should have just adapted the book.
Right, or the comic books, yeah. They had so much material to go with, and that's the show that everyone was looking forward to. I myself was like, oh yeah, I would be fine to see an Ahsoka show. Oh, Andor,
See,
Rogue One was the best thing that they've done, so Andor might be interesting, but Kenobi is what I really, really want to see. That was the one out of all the shows they announced. I'm like, yes, this is what I want. Even Boba Fett, I'm like, Boba Fett's a cool character. I would like to see a Godfather thing of him being a big mob boss, which we didn't get. But it was still Kenobi. I was like, that's the one I want to see. And they just completely flubbed it. And again, I thought there were enjoyable things in the Kenobi show, but it was just a hot mess.
I'm 100% with you. I need to sit down and actually watch through it, but I think that all those things where people have taken and recut it into a 2-hour movie sounds like it massively improved, because it's like there are things there to enjoy. So,
I don't like anything about that one.
But again, like I 100% stand by Reva in in Kenobi. She was playing on stage. She was over the top and overacting everything, which the director should have reined her in. They whatever. I'm not blaming her, but at the same time, that was a problem that came from her. This character in The Acolyte is acting like she's in a show. Maybe it's not amazing acting, but she's not.
She's acting like she's in a CW show, man.
Which again is miles better. Still, I get the criticism with that, but it's still miles better than what we got out of Reva.
Reva was horrible. Yeah. Okay.
Miles better.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's a teeny tiny bit better.
To me, it's more just because that's so bad that but whatever.
Also, I mean, there's so many things I could nitpick. If you want to see my nitpicks, just watch the videos, okay?
Yeah.
Episode 2 is dropping tomorrow. But there were so many just stupid, idiotic writing decisions. Just
well, and I think
like,
at least
same look on the same lines. It's just bad it's lazy writing. It's bad lazy writing when you're like, oh, we need this thing to happen, otherwise the plot can't happen, and that's why there are these. It's not like they wrote themselves into a corner and like, oh, I guess there's a plot hole here, maybe we're just going to graze over it. It's that we are so bad at writing stories that literally the only way that we can think of for our story to happen is if these characters have the same hairdo, which doesn't make any sense. But we put it in there so that the story can happen. And then we're going to have the Jedi come arrest her, and they're literally going to the same place. They're both going back to the Jedi Temple, but we're going to put you on a different ship that's only manned by robots. Why was that ship on the way? Like, did they have to revert? Did they have to reroute the slave ship or the prisoner ship to get there and then send it to the same place? Like, the fact there's so many moments like that where you know that the answer is, oh, so that the plot can happen because we're too stupid to think of any other way for this to happen. That it's just child's play.
Yeah.
It's just pathetic, and I hate it. I can't stand it. They put her on a ship manned, and you know that they did in the writing room. They're like, okay, we can't put her on a ship with the main characters because we need her to escape, and then she'd have to kill the main characters, but we want her to be morally good. Let's put her on a ship. There's only robots on the ship, so if they die, that's okay. And she's not going to do the escaping. The other people are going to do the escaping, and she's just going to be a victim of circumstance. And it has to happen so that she can escape, so that people can think that she's bad. And then, none of that actually matters anyway, because they're going to meet up with her in the next episode and set things straight. I thought if they were going to set that up, wouldn't it have been more interesting if the bad guys think that if the good guys think that she's bad, like the whole show? I thought that's what they were trying to set up, that she was going willingly, like, no, I trust the Jedi, I'm going to go in and tell him that I'm not the bad guy, and then gets hooked up in the situation where other people take the ship down, and now people think she's even more of a bad guy, and she has to be on the run and clear her name. I thought it was going to be The Fugitive. Like, now I have to be on the run and clear my name by myself because the bad guys want to kill me and the good guys think I'm the bad guy. Isn't that instantly a much better story? Which I thought that they were doing? And then they're like, none of that even mattered because in episode 2 they just pick her up. And they even stretched out that scene. There's like a 20-minute chase scene through the mountains, and he catches her, and she's running uphill. Never run upstairs. Stupid, okay? And then they talk and say, I think you're the good guy. I'm the bad guy. But come in, Mason. I don't get anything they're doing. Yeah. They're making no good choices.
I will say, to me, this is not nearly as egregious as the kinds of things that we've seen before. Is it great? No. And that's why I say I'm not loving the show. But we've seen so much worse. And I can understand where there's some of the arguments of, like, why do we have to settle? Why do we have to be okay with this not being
they took the bartender away from his business to identify her in person rather than doing a holocron FaceTime.
Yep.
Yeah.
His business is already ruined. He needs to be at work, right? Doing repairs. Otherwise, he's going to lose even more money. And they don't take him to, like, they don't arrest her and take her to prison and have him show up to testify in court. They bring him to the arrest. They take him to her house and say, is that the one? Yeah. Okay, we're going to get her. What?
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just so dumb.
I don't think it's that bad, but you're right. It's not
like these people. It's
thing.
The same complaint, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it's the same complaint. It's these people that are writing from California. They've never stepped foot out of their studio apartments, and they don't know how the real world functions. And it's so obvious in their writing. Their writing is juvenile. It feels like it was written by a child who's never had any life experiences that has ever challenged their worldview or even challenged them physically. They just don't know how anything works.
Yeah.
Their entire life has been convenienced by subscription services. They don't even go shopping anymore. They have their shopping delivered to them, and it's just painful. And anything they read that they disagree with offends them. So they're not even well read. They've never read the greats. They don't know what makes writing good because good writing offends them. Good writing is supposed to challenge us. It's supposed to make us think.
I don't see that. I don't quite necessarily see that manifesting the way that you're drawing the connections there. But I don't disagree with you that there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of people like that have
on
that
a on a different note. I hate and I can't stand that it's become such a pattern with like the last 10 shows we've watched. The strong female character, her entire personality is I'm going to be a dick to everyone who's nice to me. And in that, like, her coworker on the ship comes out and says, "Hey, how come you didn't come out with us last night? We invited you. We were looking for you." Right? He's being a gentleman. He's saying, "Hey, we invited you. Didn't see you there. We wanted to make sure you're okay. Are you going to come out next time?" And she's, "Get away from me, you piece of shit!"
Yeah.
Like,
I saw that.
what?
I saw that part of the devoid of logic with that, and
it sounds like a nitpick, right? And I get it wasn't a big part of it didn't have anything to do with the rest of the story.
You're right,
but it's every time. They're they're
It is a
teaching
trend now,
young
for sure.
women. They're teaching young women that this is how you should behave, and it's
the
in
one-
everything. It's in
one thing
everything. It's sick.
The one thing I'll respond to with that though is that this was to me was not egregious. It was there. It was like a year.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't egregious.
It wasn't.
But it's the same thing in everything.
Yeah.
But see, my
I agree.
problem where I'll get with you is that where we've seen it a lot in other places, it's been egregious. And
Yes.
so now when
No,
it shows up in
I 100% agree. This is
like, hey,
Glad
it's
to
part of a
reverse the
pattern.
power.
It's part of a pattern.
hey, it's not as bad as I've seen a lot of these other ones doing. Maybe they're reeling themselves back a little bit. That's the way I take that as hey, it looks like they're reeling themselves back a little bit rather than like, look, it's just the same thing. Because it's not the same thing. It's similar. It's got a lot of the same beats. It's got a lot of the same connotation. And
Her second line was even worse though. He's like, "Hey, did you come out?" He's like, "What I do in my day off is none of your freaking business, you dickweed." And then he goes, and then he's still nice to her. He's like, I guess, sorry, I wasn't expecting to just be berated for being nice. Ain't no rest for, I'm going to make a joke. Ain't no rest for the wicked, right? Oh no, we rest. I'm a wicked person. We rest. We just don't brag about it. He wasn't bragging. He was saying, "Hey, we invited you. You didn't come, and I'm concerned." What the hell?
That's a pretty bad line. Oh no, we rest. What?
Yeah, she doesn't say I'm a wicked person. He says ain't no rest for the wicked, and she says, "Oh no, we rest plenty." Or no, it's not ain't no rest for the wicked. He says it's yeah, he says ain't no rest for the wicked. He's like, "Oh no, I'll have to look it up."
yeah, but,
It's oh no, we rest, but it's like, "Oh no, we do the thing. We rest. We just don't brag about it." But I think it was like party, like we have fun. I think it was like I think the line was we have fun. We just don't brag about it.
yeah.
So what was the line then? Was it not ain't no rest of the wicked? I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, because I remembered it more from your devoid of logic than from the actual episode with that.
I didn't notice it the first time either because it's just become so par for the course. But then when I was making my review, I hit that scene and I was like, I'm just going to, there's nothing important in this entire scene. I'm just going to skip straight to the space fire. And I happened to see that and I was like, wait, this offends me. Why is this a thing? Like,
oh, come on now. Is it because you haven't stepped out and been able to be offended by, no, just kidding.
No, but like,
Every little thing.
but you're right. Like, this was not egregious. It wasn't nearly as bad as Rings of Power or freaking Willow. Willow was the worst I've ever seen. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Oh, I hated
I was
it.
just being so nice to her, and yeah.
Okay, it wasn't as bad, and it went over my head because I hated this.
To me, it felt still a little bit like friendly banter. That to me, the way it was acted, because I don't want to put words in your mouth or tell you how you feel on it. But to me, it feels like because you've been so primed by all these ones that have been really egregious.
Right.
It's almost like, hey, this
it's pattern recognition.
Where it's almost like, to me, I took this as like, hey, this is kind of coworker banter where she's not being
later on when they were outside. It was more banter when she says, "Oh no, you can kill him, but not me."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was still rude, but it was said in a jovial tone. So like, and I could have I cut that part out. Yeah. I could have gone, "Oh, she's just being mean to him again." But that was obvious. Like, oh, she's just joking around.
That's how I took that most of that interaction anyway on that first time with it. But the reason that I think that matters to me with it is that, like, to me that was she was acting well enough to communicate that to me. But for you, I feel like you weren't able to see past the fact that it seems like such a trend that it just reads as
because that's what it is, though.
How it's acted as maybe not being aggressive.
But that's the thing. Like, you can't. How can you ignore the trend? And because little girls are seeing this, they're watching this,
Yeah.
And they're being told that this is normal.
I mean, you take it back
I think
to the,
I think it'd be idiotic to not take the entire trend into consideration because that's the problem. That's the problem.
Necessarily, I'm
not accusing you, dude. I'm not.
It's more just that, like, for approaching this individual thing for myself, and when I'm receiving it, it's not feeling like it's motivated as much by that trend. Even though then when I take a step back and I can look at it, I'm like, oh yeah, there's this trend, and maybe it's worth addressing. And
right. Well, you know what it feels like. It feels like people who've been indoctrinated by this trend are now just trying to write normal stuff, and that's what comes across because they think that it's normal.
Yeah.
They think it's normal to just be horrible to men. Because
it comes,
the goal was to make white men cry, right? It's.
Yeah.
I get that was for a different movie. I know that wasn't for Star Wars, but it's relevant to everything that Leslie Headland has said about the show and the reason why she hired the actress.
It goes back to the comments that were made about Doctor Who, right? Changing the doctor to a woman is a loss of a role model, positive role model for boys, right? It's the same thing for girls. Girls need good, positive role models too, and it seems like every single girl boss character that's coming out these days is just a terrible role model.
Rather than holding themselves,
everyone else around them in their lives.
And it goes back to the great Tolkien quote: "Evil can't create; they can only corrupt and destroy." It's rather than writing a woman who's strong and awesome by her own merits, they can only the only way that they can write strong women is by tearing down men.
Yeah,
yeah.
And here's the line right here. Here's the line. It's none of your business. No rest. He says, what I do on my day off is none of your business. No rest for the wicked, eh? Yeah, the wicked rest. They just don't brag about it. I was right.
So the one thing is she doesn't claim it as much as you were thinking you were. Oh, the rest wicked. They just don't claim about it as opposed to we just don't brag about it. But it's still the
implication is still there. But yeah,
it's basically the same thing. It's a little bit. But it's right around that.
Just what a rude thing to say.
That line in particular, the wicked rest, they just don't brag about it. To me, that was the most bantery one. The what I do on my day off is none of your business was a little bit more of the like shutting down, trying to be like, well, but I think to me it actually softened it to say like, oh, the wicked rest, they just don't brag about it. That's where it transitioned into the banter for me.
Yeah.
Also,
the wicked are the ones that brag about their recreational activities the most.
I disagree with the premise anyway, but I didn't mind the banter on it because that's the sort of thing where I could see even amongst us who we don't actually consider ourselves the wicked or anything like that we would say something like that. Again, that's why I took.
Look, I call David retarded all the time, but it's because I love him. Okay,
right. So,
he's also just trying to be accurate. All right.
Yeah, so I don't know. I agree with you. It's still a weird thing to flex on, but
it offends my senses.
That's the thing. I think I'm sometimes getting a little extra defensive because I don't like to be as negative as we sometimes tend to be on this show.
Sure.
But for me, I've always said, and this is a big thing that I've always talked about is not necessarily on the show, but one of the quotes from I think it's Brigham Young said something along these lines, and maybe I'm just misquoting, but the offenses taken, not given,
right?
And sure, what is it? A stupid person takes offense when it's not intended, and a stupider person takes offense when it is intended. I try to apply that in a lot of these situations. So, I hear what you're saying, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't address it at all. It shouldn't be talked about. But I'm not willing to be offended by all this stuff. I don't care. Fine. You can hate me. You can write this to try to make me cry. I'm not going to. I'm not going to be offended. I'm not going to give up on Star Wars because you're trying to push me out of it. I'm still going to love it. So
I still love Star Wars. I just don't love this Star Wars because it's made by people who say they hate you. It's
and I don't care. They can say they hate me.
It doesn't personally offend me because I know that they're idiots, but I'm not going to pay them money.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to get spit on more?
Sure.
I'm not going to get offended if someone spits on me, but I'm not going to humor them either.
No.
The quote is he who takes offense when offense is not intended is a fool. Yet he who takes offense when offense is attended is an even greater fool, for he has succumbed to the will of his adversary. Yeah, no, like these.
Yeah.
I don't. It's like the quote for it's the Mad Men quote, right? Obviously, I get it. You shouldn't idolize the main character from Mad Men. He's a bad guy, but it's a great quote when he's in the elevator and he's like, I hate you so much. I hate you so much, and his response is, I don't think about you at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly how I feel about these Star Wars freaks, right? These Disney pedophiles. I know they hate me because they've said it. We hate straight white men. Okay?
Just stupid.
I don't care about them. The reason that I'm doing this, I wouldn't be watching this show, right? I don't care about their Star Wars anymore. It's not Star Wars to me. It's something else. It's Disney Star Wars. Okay? I don't get offended by them. Okay? And I would never take it personally, but like it feels like my job, because I have a platform, to call them out from their stupidity, right? Like if you do nothing, it's the only thing required for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing, right? The argument of like, oh, well, don't if you don't like it, don't watch, or just let people enjoy things. So like, no, like this has become political. Like you've turned this into a tool rather than in entertainment, right? Like you're using this as propaganda and as indoctrination. And if I just sit back and say, I'm just not going to watch or whatever, enjoy it. Like, no, like you've taken something that was beloved by so many people and you've perverted it for your literal agenda. Disney has said they have.
Mm-hmm.
And
everyone has an agenda.
And pretty much half of the YouTube comments are like, oh, why do you get so worked up about it, Snowflake? I'm like, I could care less. Okay? But someone's got to hold them to the accountability. Someone's got to hold them up to the fire.
That's why I still want to have the conversations. I still think it's worth having some of these conversations. But
no, I agree.
Yeah, I just think it's,
I don't agree with you. I agree that we should have a conversation about it.
So I don't know, but it's not the end of the world. We'll figure it out. And if it is the end of the world, cool. That means Christ's coming, and we're gonna find out.
And no more bad Star Wars.
There we go.
Please come soon, Jesus. Oh Lord. Please stop the Star Wars.
That's the reason. That's the reason we want to come back.
Please stop before they get to Old Republic. Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh man, I pray every night. No, it's just it's sad though that, and you know that they're incapable of creating, they could, if they wanted to make a show with their ideology and stuff, they could, and no one would watch it because we've seen the quality. It's bad. The only reason that people are watching the show is because it says Star Wars at the front. If this wasn't called Star Wars, it was just called The Acolyte, you would have watched the first episode and be like, okay, I don't care about this.
I would say that's at least 60 to 70% of the reason I started watching it.
Sure.
I would even say it's probably only about 40% of the reason right now that I'm going to watch episode 3.
Apparently it gets worse. Apparently the third episode is supposed to be the worst one.
Weird, because I actually heard that the third episode was the best one. So I don't know.
It's been reported.
I heard from a couple people though. I'm not
a couple famous people who previewed it. I believe it was the one who first said the quote was I can't remember the name of the channel. It's on the tip of my tongue and I'm forgetting it, and I don't want to say it wrong. But it's the Attack of the Show guy. Film Threat. Yeah, Attack of the Show guy.
You got it, Mark.
There you go. Film Threat said that he previewed the episodes and said that the third episode will officially kill off any pre-Disney Star Wars fan. So if you're still holding on to old Star Wars, episode 3 will kill you.
So I mean, again, I haven't seen it, so I don't know. I have seen somebody who has been a pre-Disney Star Wars fan for years and years and years, and hasn't loved a lot of the other Disney Star Wars stuff, who said that Episode 3 was the best one. So
we shall see.
Yep. Well, we will probably
like a YouTuber,
because you're not going to bother.
No, I will catch up. I will find a way to watch them, and I will watch them.
David, the episodes are taking up a lot of space on my Google Drive. Will
I
you
told
please
you.
download them?
I already took them off.
It's only half an hour long.
I already took them off. You can delete them.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, we could nitpick it. If you want to, just watch my videos, right?
Did they smoke some death sticks?
It's just I hated it. Jared thought it was mediocre.
It was barely above mediocre.
Sure,
I thought it was above mediocre, but just barely. Not
it's
great.
not good,
Yeah.
right? You can't. This is not a great. This isn't Star Wars. It's not peak Star Wars. I will admit it's probably not the worst one, but I think like quality wise, I think ideology wise, it's the worst one.
Yeah,
like I think it's pretty blatant what they're trying to push, and there's going to be pronouns in episode 3. So get ready for that.
I don't care.
I don't want to talk about it anymore. We can get more in depth when more people have seen the episodes. But here's some memes to lighten it up. For Pride, here's some Pride Month memes. Happy Sin Month, everybody! Let's be proud. Let's commit 2 sins this month. Let's do one sin and then let's be proud of it. Let's double down. This is pretty good. I was assigned Palpatine at birth, but I identify as a Skywalker. And then this was an older meme, but it was a good response. We're using our made up names, right? Anyway, this post was fantastic though. It's really long. Let's read it, okay? You'll immediately get what it is, right? I used to think that stealing was wrong, but then my child told me from a very young age he felt compelled to steal. He did not choose these longings, and he struggled his whole life to suppress them, knowing that people would never accept him for who he is. It's a fantastic thread, and perfectly sums up the entire Pride Month debate. Look, I have lots of friends who are on the Pride spectrum, okay?
Family members too.
Yeah, family. You don't hate the sinner, you hate the sin. I have no shame being a Christian, and I believe that homosexuality is a sin. I don't hate homosexuals.
Yep.
I've always tried to be cordial. I've always tried to be friends, but when we say like, "Oh, we're born this way, I can't change," it's still a choice. You
said the other day, I think before we started the stream, I have a biological inclination to sleep with every woman that I see, but I don't.
Right.
And I know, because I have quite a few people who are on the spectrum of that, if you will, however you're going to refer to that. I don't want to be too mean about it, but that are on that.
They're the ones that said the gender was a spectrum, okay?
They hate that argument. I can't. The other one that I tend to lean on a lot.
I forgot to take my medicine today.
Is that I also believe that having sex before marriage is wrong.
Right. I'm also friends with plenty of adulterers.
I will stand by the fact that I think that is wrong. If you do that, all right, sucks to be, and I don't think it's right. And I fall short on a lot of other sins too, and I'm friends with a lot of sinners. The other thing that I'll even say too with that is that oh shoot, I lost what I was thinking with that. Just because I've lost it. I'll come back to it if I think about it. But there are lots of things that people do. That's what it was. I even think it's detrimental to society that we have accepted that as a generally acceptable thing to do.
Statistics would agree, though. It's not just a religious argument. It's a statistical argument that the nuclear family is the single greatest economic indicator, or it's the single greatest indicator that leads to economic success. There's not any other factors that we've ever measured that can predict whether or not someone will be successful in life It's being born more than being born in a nuclear family.
Yeah.
It is the single greatest predictor for success.
So I say that
number twos don't even come close.
Yeah. And I say that to give context to the fact that, you know what, you do what you're going to do. I don't like it. I'm even going to a certain degree or another, preach against it. But I will love you and accept you anyway. Maybe even more than Alan does. But
I'm not going to read the whole post. It's hilarious. But you should read it. But I love. He's like, stop being kleptophobic. It's proactive generosity is letting people steal from you.
I really need to make sure my wife doesn't watch this episode.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Look,
my phone is about to die.
And I will say, and you guys know, I got fired from my job for standing by my religious beliefs. Okay, and I've always tried to be friendly and with people who I disagree with. I'm friends with lots of sinners, and we all fall short in the eyes of God, and we all need His grace, Amen. Through repentance. But when I got fired, I never stopped being friends with those people. They stopped being friends with me, and yet they called me a bigot.
Yep.
But it's kind of the opposite.
I'll just
definition of the word.
One little aspect to it is that I think that there is room to be a little bit more cautious than I think sometimes we are on these sorts of streams, to be a little bit more potentially less aggressive in our disagreement. But I still very much agree with a lot of your points, a lot of what you're getting at, and I think there's a lot of frustration. I can understand and feel a lot of frustration,
and it's got
the issues going on there. But I don't know. I just wanted to put that out there as well as a little bit. That there's room for. I can understand somebody might have gotten offended by that, and I didn't want to offend them. I didn't feel like I was being all that. But regardless of how I was intending it, it was taken a different way, and that sucks. But yeah, this is how I feel, and this is what I'm doing, and yeah.
I won't be bullied into recanting my morals.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes around.
Could I be nicer? Yeah, I could probably be nicer. But the goal of this show is to make jokes. And if I'm talking to someone in person, I'll tone it back a little bit.
And that's actually what I realized was a clarification that I really wanted to make on that. Is not necessarily that we're too mean or whatever. It's that we are making jokes here in a lot of ways. And for the most part, what we're doing here is trying to make jokes. And they're being jokes.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are getting offended at jokes and making that into a crusade about it, and that's frustrating. But I can also understand how, especially in a person-to-person, or sometimes maybe we all collectively, I'm not trying to point fingers at all of it, but try to be a little more nuanced when it comes to
now we're going to get huge feedback.
Maybe people are going to get offended by, as much as we feel like it was a joke. I wasn't trying to be mean. I was just trying to make a funny commentary about a situation that I disagree with.
But people make jokes about Christians all the time, and if they can't take a little bit of joking, hey.
Yeah. I have tried to use this argument to describe how, while in many ways, as a white male, whatever, but as a Mormon, jokes are made about Mormons all the time, especially here in California. I don't say, I'm done with these jokes and these microaggressions about Mormons having.
They made a whole musical making fun of us, okay?
And I would join.
Yeah, some of them were pretty good.
Sometimes I want to make sure that there's a little clarification that that's not really true, or that used to be true. But as long as that's understood and we're all having fun, all right, I'm not going to get offended. Just like I said before, I'm not going to take offense. You can try to get offense. I'm not going to take it.
Cancel culture and the safe spaces and all that. It's literal. It's cultural Marxism designed to police speech with the intent of changing thought and behavior. But one of the biggest victims of that entire ideology has been comedy.
Yep.
And pretty much every comedian has said that. We had Seinfeld say it 2 weeks ago, right?
You have to be a lot smarter if you're going to get away with that kind of stuff, which you still can occasionally, but it's a lot harder. You have to be a lot more
you can just stop caring.
Or you can stop caring, or you can stop making the jokes as well. There are several different approaches.
But that's what they want. That's what the man wants. They want you to be silent.
No, not the man.
No. Sorry. That's what them want. They want.
You just did a sexism.
You bigot. Oh no, that was me. Sorry. Anyway,
that was too easy.
That's pretty much it. It's a shorter show. I got to get back to family, and I got to get back to editing because
I love how our shorter show is still 2 hours.
It's under 2 hours. Sub 2 hour show is a short show. I was hoping for like an hour show, but you kept talking.
I was sitting there going, sorry.
If you would have just agreed with me, this could have been a really short show. All right, it's entirely your fault. We didn't even talk about Doctor Who.
Nowhere near as much fun.
Hey, but I'm feeling really good. I'm caught up on the I've already got Acolyte videos ready, and I just need to catch up on Doctor Who. But that's not my fault. That's BBC's for being poo-poo heads.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing your video tomorrow, so I can argue with you about other things you're nitpicking and joking about.
Episode 2 was just boring. Like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Like it literally just returned the show to the status quo that it undid everything episode 1 set up. I don't get it. Anyway, all right. We'll see you guys next week when we're talking about the same 2 stupid shows, and then we can all relax and watch House of the Dragon together.
I love how we completely forgot about Outer Range, which is a decent show.
It's a good show. I literally, it's on the thumbnail every week. I haven't watched it because you released it all at once, you morons.
Almost. I watched a few more episodes of Fallout.
It's a good show.
Talking about ones that they dropped all at once that was worth maybe at least trying to talk about some more.
I'll try. I know. I'm pretty sure Jared has finished it, so I'll try and finish Outer Range by next week. But man, I'm busy. Yeah. I gotta get ready for.
I make no promises, but I might give it a shot too if I can catch up with it.
I'll at least watch one more episode. Josh Brolin's fantastic. All right, we'll see you guys next week. We got more of this stupid stuff, and I've more videos, and then we'll have fun after that.
Yep.
All right.
We'll finally have something good to talk about.
Thanks for a fun podcast of arguing.
I got really quick before we go. I got some comics. Nice. So Yaira finally came. I still haven't read the one the. No, I read the first 2 Isoms. I haven't read Alpha Core yet. Just I've been so busy. But I got Yaira, and I also backed another comic book called Fiendish. And I haven't read it yet, but it's pretty cool. It's some really cool artwork. It's a little fantasy thing. There's 2 books out, and then I got the 2.5 is like a backstory, and they're working on 3 right now.
Nice.
It's cool. I've backed a bunch of comics that are getting close to distributing, like the Lucent. Yes, that one looks good. He just finished coloring, and it's like going to press right now. So I'll have those soon. I backed like a space noir one too, and another space one. So we'll get some comics. I'm gonna start reviewing all of the Ultimate Marvel once I have free time again. So we'll see you guys next week. It's super fun.
Yep.
Got anything to say?
Bye.
This looks kind of cool. Does it look like I have the Apple Vision Pro thing?
Sure, Alan. Sure, it looks so cool. Oh, hey, it's Jordy LaForge.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next. All right, bye. Just leave. Just go.
And now it is time to say goodbye.
We had a great conversation.
It's been fun. But all good things must come to an end, and the goodest ending I can think of is...
Right now, this moment, this night.
So I guess we just say goodbye.
So, goodbye.
Toodaloo. Au revoir. Auf Wiedersehen. Ciao. Ding dao day. But come back next week for more outrageous bloopers.
This is the end.
Well... There's only one thing left to do.
I'm gonna go home and sleep with my wife.
subscribe to the channel and you can join us along for the ride. And if you pay me, I'll try to be more entertaining, so please consider joining Patreon.